Welcome back to Calm Investors. I am Ruth.
And I am Patrick, and we are back with episode 2 of season 0.
So last episode, we talked about the difference between being rich and being wealthy, and the big takeaway was that rich is about income, but wealth is about what you keep. It is the gap between what you earn and what you spend.
Right, and we said the homework was to calculate your net worth, everything you own, minus everything you owe. I actually did it, by the way.
And? How did that feel?
Honestly, a little uncomfortable, but also kind of freeing, like, at least now I know the number. It is not great, but I know it.
And that feeling, that mix of discomfort and relief, is exactly what today's episode is about. Because today we are going one level deeper. Last time we asked, what is wealth? Today we are asking, where does your money actually go?
And I have to be honest, this one scares me more than the net worth anything.
Tell me why.
Because net worth is just one number. You look at it, you process it, you move on. But tracking where your money goes, that means looking at every single purchase, every coffee, every impulse, buy every subscription I forgot I signed up for. That feels like opening a closet you have been shoving stuff into for years.
I love that image. The financial junk closet.
Exactly. And I am afraid of what falls out.
And you know what? That is completely normal. Almost everyone feels that way. I have talked to hundreds of people about money over the years, and the number one thing people avoid is looking at their own spending. Not because they are bad with money, but because they are afraid of what they will find.
So it is not just me.
It is definitely not just you. And here is the core idea for today. You cannot fix what you cannot see. That is it. That is the whole episode in one sentence. If you do not know where your money is going, you cannot make better decisions about it. Tracking your spending is not about guilt. It is not about restriction. It is a diagnostic. Think of it like going to the doctor for a checkup. The doctor does not judge you. They just look at the data and say, okay, here's what is happening. Let us figure out what to do about it.
I like that framing a checkup, not a guilt trip.
Exactly, and I promise you, by the end of this episode, you are going to feel less anxious about this and more curious, because once you see your spending clearly, it actually feels like a relief. The unknown is always scarier than the known.
All right, I am going to trust you on that. So where do we start?
Let us start with a question. If I asked you right now, what percentage of your income do you spend on things you actually need versus things you just want? Could you give me an answer?
I could guess maybe 60% needs, 40% wants. But honestly, I have no idea.
And that is the problem. Most people are guessing. And the research shows that most people are guessing wrong. Studies consistently find that people underestimate their discretionary spending by 30 to 40%. You think you are spending a certain amount on wants, and the real number is significantly higher.
30 to 40% off? That is a huge gap.
It is, and it makes sense when you think about it. Because spending is not one big decision, it is hundreds of tiny decisions. A coffee here, a delivery order there, a subscription you signed up for 6 months ago and forgot about individually. None of them feel significant, but collectively, they add up to a massive number.
Death by 1,000 small purchases.
Exactly. And here is a stat that blows my mind every time I see it. The average American spends $219 a month on subscriptions they forget about. Not subscriptions they use, and enjoy subscriptions they forgot they were paying for.
Wait, $219 a month on stuff they do not even know they are paying for?
That is what the data shows. Think about it. Streaming services you signed up for to watch one show and never canceled, a fitness app you used for 2 weeks, a free trial that converted to a paid plan, a cloud storage upgrade you do not need anymore. They are all sitting there, quietly draining your account every single month.
Okay, I am already mentally going through my bank statement right now. I know I have at least 3 or 4 of those.
Everyone does. And $219 a month is over $2,600 a year. Remember what we said last episode about compounding? If you invested that $219 a month instead, at an average return of 10% per year, in 20 years that would be over $150,000.
$150,000 from canceling subscriptions you do not even use.
From subscriptions you did not even know you were paying for. That is the power of awareness. That is why this step matters so much.
Okay, so how do we actually make sense of where our money goes? Because when I look at my bank statement, it is just this long list of transactions and my eyes glaze over.
Great question. And this is where it gets really useful. There are 3 categories of spending, and once you learn them, you will never look at your money the same way. The 3 categories are fixed, variable, and discretionary.
Okay, walk me through each one.
Fixed expenses are the ones that stay roughly the same every month, and you have to pay them rent or mortgage. Car payment, insurance premiums, your phone bill? These are the non-negotiables. They are predictable, and in the short term, they are hard to change.
Right, the bills that show up whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Then you have variable expenses. These are things you need, but the amount changes month to month. Groceries, gas, or transportation, utilities like electricity and water. You have to spend on these, but you have some control over how much.
So like I need to eat, but I can choose between cooking at home and ordering delivery every night.
Perfect example. And then the third category is discretionary. This is everything else: entertainment, dining out, shopping, hobbies, subscriptions, travel. These are the wants, the things that make life enjoyable, but are not strictly necessary for survival.
And I am guessing that is where most of the surprises are.
Bingo. Discretionary spending is where the blind spots live, because fixed expenses are obvious. You know your rent. Variable expenses are somewhat predictable, but discretionary spending is where all those tiny, forgettable purchases add up, and most people have no idea how big that number actually is.
Okay, so I want to bring up something I have heard a lot. The Lotta factor. This idea that if you just stop buying coffee every day, you will become a millionaire. Is that real, or is that overblown?
Oh, I have opinions on this one. So the Lotta factor comes from David Bach. The idea is that small daily expenses, like a $5 coffee, add up to huge amounts over time, and mathematically, he is not wrong. $5 a day is $1,825 a year, invested over 30 years. That is a lot of money.
So it is real.
The math is real, but here is where I think the Lotta factor gets it wrong. It puts all the focus on tiny pleasures, and none of the focus on the big structural expenses. Your rent, your car payment, your insurance, those are the numbers that actually move the needle. Skipping your morning coffee to save $5, while paying an extra $300 a month for a car you cannot afford? That is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Ha! Okay, so the coffee is not the problem.
The coffee might be part of the picture, but it is not the whole picture. And the danger of the lot factor is that it makes people feel guilty about small joys while ignoring the big leaks. I would rather you enjoy your coffee and drive a cheaper car than give up every small pleasure and still be broke because your fixed expenses are too high.
That is such a relief to hear, because I love my morning coffee and I was not planning to give it up.
Keep your coffee, but know what it costs you. That is the point. Awareness does not mean deprivation. It means making informed choices, and that is what the spending audit is all about.
All right, so let us talk about this spending audit. What exactly is it, and how do you do it?
So the 30-day spending audit is the single most powerful exercise you can do for your finances. And I want to be really clear about what it is and what it is not. It is not a budget. It is a diagnostic. A budget tells you what you should spend. A spending audit tells you what you actually spend. And those are two very different things.
Okay, So you are not telling people to restrict anything.
Not at all. In fact, I want you to spend normally. Do not change anything. Do not try to be good. Do not skip purchases because you know you are tracking. Just live your normal life. The only difference is that you write everything down.
Everything?
Everything. Every coffee, every grocery run, every online order, every subscription charge, every time money leaves your account. You write it down, the amount, what it was for, and which category it falls into, fixed, variable, or discretionary.
And you do this for 30 days.
30 days, 1 full month, because a week is not enough. Some expenses are weekly, some are bi-weekly, some only hit once a month. You need a full cycle to see the real picture.
And what do you use to track it? Like, is there a specific app, or do you need a spreadsheet?
Use whatever you will actually use. That is the only rule. A notebook and a pen works great. A simple spreadsheet works great. There are apps that can automate some of it, but honestly, I think there is something powerful about writing it down by hand, at least for the first time. Because the act of writing forces you to notice when an app does it automatically. It is easy to ignore when you write down, "I just spent $14 on lunch." You feel it differently.
Yeah, there is something about physically writing it that makes it more real.
It does, and here is the most important part. The golden rule of the spending audit: do not judge. Just observe.
Do not judge, just observe.
This is critical the moment you start judging yourself. "Oh, I should not have bought that. I am so bad with money." You will stop tracking. Guilt kills the process, so instead, think of yourself as a scientist. You are collecting data, that is all. A scientist does not get angry at the data. They just record it and look for patterns.
I really like that. Be a scientist, not a judge.
Exactly. It is just data. It is not a judgment. Your spending does not make you a good or bad person. It is just information. And information is power. Once you have it, you can make choices, but you cannot make good choices without good data.
Okay, so let us say someone does this. They track everything for 30 days. What do people usually find? Like, what are the common surprises?
Oh, this is my favorite part, because everyone is surprised. Everyone. I have never met a single person who did a spending audit and said, "Yep, exactly what I expected." It never happens.
What are the big ones?
Number 1 is food. Almost everyone underestimates how much they spend on food. And I am not talking about groceries. I am talking about the combination of groceries. Dining out, delivery apps, coffee shops, and snacks. When you add it all up, most people are spending 50 to 100% more on food than they think they are.
Delivery apps. Oh man, I do not even want to know my delivery app total.
Ha, you and everyone else. Those apps are designed to make spending feel frictionless. One tap and food appears, but that convenience has a cost. The delivery fee, the service fee, the tip, the markup on the food itself. A $12 meal becomes a $22 meal by the time it arrives at your door.
Almost double. I never really thought about it that way.
Number 2 is subscriptions. We already talked about the $219 stat. But beyond the forgotten ones, people are often shocked by how many active subscriptions they have. Streaming, music, news, fitness, software, gaming, storage. I have seen people with 15 or 20 active subscriptions who thought they had 5 or 6.
15 to 20? That is wild.
And number 3 is what I call convenience spending. This is the category people never think about. It is the rideshare instead of the bus, the pre-made salad instead of making one at home, the express shipping because you did not plan ahead. These are not big purchases. They are small premiums you pay for convenience. Over and over and over, and they add up to hundreds of dollars a month.
The convenience tax, I am definitely guilty of that one.
We all are. And again, this is not about never using a delivery app or never taking a rideshare. It is about knowing the cost. When you see that you spent $300 on delivery apps last month, you can make a conscious choice. Maybe you decide that is worth it to you. Great. Or maybe you decide to cook 3 more nights a week and redirect that money somewhere else. The point is, now you are choosing instead of sleepwalking.
Choosing instead of sleepwalking, that is a great way to put it.
And here is what I find really beautiful about this process. Most people go into the spending audit feeling anxious. They are afraid of what they will find. But by the end of the 30 days, almost everyone feels relieved because the mystery is gone. The vague sense of where does all my money go gets replaced with a clear, specific answer, and clarity is calming. It is the not knowing that creates anxiety.
That makes sense. It is like when you are worried about a medical test, the waiting is worse than the result.
Exactly. And just like a medical test, the result gives you a path forward. You are not stuck anymore. You have data, and data gives you options.
You know, I am actually starting to feel less scared about this and more curious, which I think is exactly what you said would happen at the beginning of the episode.
Huh? See? The unknown is always scarier than the known, and now you have a tool to turn the unknown into the known. That is all the spending audit is. A flashlight for your finances.
All right, let us do our recap. Lock in the key takeaways from today.
Number 1. You cannot fix what you cannot see. Awareness is the first step to every financial improvement. Before you budget, before you save, before you invest, you need to know where your money is actually going.
Number 2. Your spending falls into 3 categories: fixed, variable, and discretionary. The biggest surprises almost always live in the discretionary category.
Number 3. The subscription trap is real. The average American spends over $200 a month on subscriptions they forget about. Check yours.
Number 4. The latte factor is overblown. Small pleasures are not the enemy. Big structural expenses and invisible spending habits are where the real money hides.
And number 5. Your homework for the next 30 days. Write down every dollar you spend. Do not judge it. Just observe. Use a notebook, a spreadsheet, an app. Whatever works for you at the end of 30 days, sort it into fixed, variable, and discretionary and just look at it. That is it. Just look at it, and let the data speak.
I am actually going to start mine tonight. I will report back.
I love that, and remember, it is just data. It is not a judgment. You are a scientist collecting information, nothing more.
So what is coming up next?
Next episode, we are going to talk about debt, and specifically, the difference between good debt and bad debt. Because not all debt is created equal. A mortgage at 4% and a credit card at 22% are completely different animals. And I'm going to show you why bad debt is basically compound interest working against you. It is the anti-wealth machine.
Oh, that is going to be a heavy one. I have some credit card stories I am not proud of.
Ha, you and most of the world. But just like today, we are going to approach it with curiosity, not shame. Debt is not a moral failing. It is a math problem. And math problems have solutions.
All right, if this episode made you think about your own spending, make sure you follow Calm Investors wherever you are listening and send this to a friend who needs to hear it. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is a new way of looking at their money.
And remember, you cannot fix what you cannot see. Start your 30-day spending audit tonight. Do not judge. Just observe. The data will set you free.
See you in episode 3.
See you there. Stay calm, build wealth.